Hi there and welcome. It's Wes Stewick here calling, and I'm coming to you today from my own basement. And like many of you, we've been working at home for quite a while by now. And so I thought I'd make this video to sort of make a new connection with you in this way. Um, yeah, I help you with your financial plans, your investments, and a variety of things in that area. So uh, I'm going to flip into a video here that is a set of slides that is very representative of where we are today in respect to your investments and your financial plans. I know you will be getting your investment statements in the mail in the next few days or maybe on our new web portal, but I'm just going to do that at this point and flip into that presentation. Okay. Okay, so at this time when we have a unique scenario in the world, we have a unique medical issue here. This is a virus we've never seen before. It has created havoc on our investments. And I want to just share some of an overview in that for you today. So what we're going to cover on this slide is that time reduces volatility, diversification leads to stability, avoiding emotional decisions, maintaining a focus and discipline, and staying invested. So in the last month, we've certainly had a drop in the markets. There's no way to get around it. We had an excellent last 2 years, but you know, in March of 2020, with the virus and the government's closing many aspects of our economic system, without any demand, we've had no sales of anything. Factories have shut down temporarily. We've had very little economic growth. In fact, it's been negative. So yeah, it's very easy to see this information. It's been out there every day in the markets for a month. Now, we've had these types of gloomy forecasts before. What this is showing here is that in the past, it doesn't matter which decade you choose, we've had these types of negative things before. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that on March the 9th, 2009, that was considered the death of capitalism. However, the markets have risen significantly since then, and we've had a bull market since 2009. What has happened with a lump sum of money in the last 5 decades or so is here enlisted. So if you had had $10,000 in 1956, and if it had been invested in the Canadian market, you would have averaged about 9% as a rate of return in those years since 1956. It's illustrated in the middle of your screen there as 8.93%. So, you know, for anyone who says that investments don't grow, they certainly do grow, although it doesn't seem like it at this point. Now, it's often the darkest just before dawn. What this means is that in periods where it's gone way down, such as in December of 2008, the following 12-month period is often very positive. So just at the bottom of this chart, if you go to the left, it says 2008, December. In the 12 months, the 12 months of December 2008 were negative 33%. However, in the following 12 months, the markets had risen by about 35%. Further on, in the 5 years following those downturns, the markets rose an annualized rate of almost 12%. So it certainly does pay to hold on and to let these short-term negative periods go away, and they do. So the IG Living Plan, what I've helped you to do all these years is to use time to your advantage. Most of you have an investment time frame of 20, 30, or even 45 or 50 years. I would always say that even a retired couple who is in their 60s and 70s still has a 5 to 10 to 15 year time horizon, and that's an important aspect to consider. So even if you have a RIF and you're receiving money every month from your RIF, when the markets rise, you still benefit. even though you are withdrawing your money every month. So having a diversified portfolio is also important. What that means is not having all your eggs in one basket, avoiding emotional decisions. Here I'm very happy to report that I have not had a significant redemption rate or a significant push to cash instead of staying invested. I'm very happy to know that most of you know that this is a long-term investment strategy and we don't respond to short-term ups and downs. So maintaining a medium to long-term focus is important. Now this is an important time graph to show you. On the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see that in any 1 month period, you can have a negative return of 39%. And that has happened 877 times since 1947. If you then look to the very middle circle of this chart, you will see that in any 3-year period, we have only had negative periods 10% of the time. So 842 times we've had a positive return, and only in 10% of those has it been negative. On the right-hand side of this chart, you'll see that after a 10-year period, after any 10-year period, it's 100% positive. So time eliminates negative periods. That's a really important slide here. Diversification. So diversification just means that you have the various stock categories around the world. That includes your fixed income, equities, and cash. And what this shows specifically is that in any year, you can have different categories of investments go up and down. So if you look at the top of the chart here towards the right-hand side, you'll see the year 2019, and you'll see that in 2019, the best performing segment of the market was the Canadian large cap section. And at the very bottom, you can see that the global bond market was the worst of all those in that column. In between there, you see things like the Canadian bond market, foreign equity, etc. What this is really showing you is that you need to have some things, you need to have some money invested in any one of these to really diversify and reduce your overall investment risk. Now this is a roller coaster chart that I've had up in my office for many years. Many of you have seen this. This is a roller coaster, and you can see here that as the roller coaster rises towards the left side, it rises up over the big hill. There's jubilation at the top of the hill. As those markets then, as you eventually come down, you feel agitated, you feel distressed, you feel nauseous and sick. We're at some of those points right now. There's a sense of despair potentially, emotionally. We're dejected, it's not a good time. But you can see that these things do run in patterns, and then they will certainly rebound over time. Now, maintaining a long-term focus. So here what we have is we have a box representing every single year from 1948 to 2019. And what we can see here is that 69% of the time, these are positive. So the dark blue represent years in which there was a positive return, and they are stacked up in terms of columns. So at the very bottom there, you can see that the biggest column shows that there was a rate of return of between 0 and 10%, beginning at the top with year 2017, 2014, etc. And then going further to the right on this chart, you can see that in some years we've had 30 to 40% growth, and that's in years like 2009, 1983, 1979, etc. On the other side of the coin, you can see that the light blue boxes represent negative years. And 2008 created a new category. 2008, we had a drop of between 30 and 40%. What's important to also know is if you follow between 2008 and 2009, you can see that 2008 was the most negative year in many years. But then if you go to the right-hand side, you'll see that the following year was one of the most positive years on record. So staying the course and not panicking when the markets are down is the long-term message. What this says here in this chart, it says that you need to keep your money invested. And if you miss some of the key rebound days, you're actually in for a lesser return. So in all the trading days since 1990, if you had invested your money, if you look at those two columns, the two blue columns on the left-hand side, you'll see that the dark one is 5%, and that represents Canada. And the lighter blue is 7.7% for the US. So if you had left your money invested for all those years, for that entire 30-year period, your rate of return is listed there. However, if you had removed your money for, if along the bottom you can see that if you removed your money for 20 days, the 20 best days, your rate of return is basically cut in half or worse. So at the end of the day here, you don't want to take your money out because you don't know when it's going to rebound back. And the day of this recording is actually today is April 17th, and today happens to be a positive day. So yeah, it's one of those days where we don't know how much it's going to rebound. And that's an important aspect. So as you know, we've talked over the years, I deal with many aspects of your financial plan, which includes insurance, helping you with budgeting if you need it, insurance, also in major expenditures, helping you put aside baskets of money for long-term, short-term, and medium-term. I'm here for many different things in your financial picture. So here, you're in the middle here. If you just look at this chart, it shows how you fit into a broader range of options and available professionals. I represent sort of your quarterback. I can often be a consultative force between you and perhaps your accountant and lawyer. I also deal with many of my in-house specialists in the areas of tax and estate planning, securities, insurance, and mortgages. I have an access to many people that you never see, but there are people who I can consult when your situation demands this. Are you on track? So many of you would say, well, I was on track until February of 2020 when the coronavirus took over and I was hit hard by my investment picture. I tend to think that this is a shorter term thing and it will rebound. For many of you, I have done an online PFP presentation where we have looked closely at your longer term goals and whether we're fulfilling them. This is where we ask the bigger question, how much money do you need to retire? How much money do you want to spend when you retire? All those kinds of things. This is an important thing to review now and also, as we come out of this in the next few months. What I've also done with some of you is a Monte Carlo analysis. What this does is Monte Carlo was an economist who basically put together a bunch of trial runs for a financial plan. And so in this example, if you look towards the bottom of the screen, you can see that 150 trials were done on a particular client. And in 143 of those 150 trials, the goal was covered. And what I mean by this is, if you say your goal is you want to have $5,000 a month of income from all sources, I can look and say, hey, are you on track for that? And so this software works with deciding, first of all, what is your goal for retirement income? And it works backwards to say, at what percentage are you at today? In this particular example, we're showing somebody who's 95% of the way towards their plan. And this is an important piece, as we get closer to that and as you wish for it. Again, I can be very technical if I need to be. For many of you, it hasn't been that critical, but it can be if you want it to be. Thank you. All right, in summary, what happens is I'm here to sort of hold your hand and keep you invested, to show you that this is a temporary thing. The markets have seen this kind of thing before. This is actually a time to invest. I've had a few chances to do that with people who are in that position, and so I'd like to do that for you. If you think that you want to invest at this point, the prices are certainly low, and so this is an opportunity to get that. Thank you. I'd like to, at this point, the only other thing I'd like to share is that perhaps maybe someone has talked about this and has wondered whether this coronavirus will be a real problem for their financial picture. A friend or family or someone who may not have ever had a review done. I am finding that it's important to do this. It's important to reach out. So I would welcome a chance to review a friend or family's financial picture at this time. I can do it via, scans and emails. I can certainly, review their investments if they want me to go and get them. But I'm very, very happy and welcome, and thank you very much for those kinds of things. Okay, thanks. We'll talk to you again. Bye.